Okay, the recording started, and yeah, I'll share the recording with everyone just in case you need to leave. So today's session is Mindset Truths, Simple Steps for Change. And I've run this session before, a couple of times before. I often change them differently so that if people have seen them before, but they are basically the same premise that we are all responsible for the way we interact with the external world. So my name is Rosemarie Wilson. I just shared with you a little bit about me. I'm a consul for the London Inspired Women's Group and the Global Development Group, which I've just become a consul for this year, I think in January or so. And I'm also an author, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker. I speak at in-person events as well. I mainly work with women, career-focused women who are struggling with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and fear of being visible in the workplace. That's my main focus area. I also work with organizations. I run workshops for organizations around confidence building, emotional intelligence, and with a strong focus on diversity and inclusion. So that's just a little bit about me. You can connect with me in any of the spaces, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. That's entirely up to you, or just here on Intonations. So let's start with this quote. And Wayne Dyer, he's my favorite, one of my favorite teachers. He's all about perspective. He teaches from a place of respect and love and decency, and that's where I take a lot of my cues from. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I use this quote when I'm in difficult situations as well, because quite often when we're in a difficult situation, we start to think that the solution is outside of us and that we have no control, when in fact we have so much control and so much power, but we often hand over our control and our power to external sources, or looking for external forces to get us out of difficult situations. When in fact you can change your perspective, you can start seeing a different point of view, start going within yourself, and you will often find the solution when you change your focus and how you're dealing with difficulties. So I use this quote in lots of difficult situations, of which there are many in the world, but I really find that it's very, very helpful. And sometimes there's no longer a problem because I just changed my perspective. So it's really powerful. So the session content today is all about self-awareness, so looking at yourself. So again, looking inside for solutions to the problem, or being able to find solutions to the problem. Our thought patterns, I'm going to talk about a little bit about how quite often we recycle the same thoughts, and they are taking us into the challenges more than away from the challenges. So we often do that. We just go round and round in circle with the same thought patterns. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. How does that fit into your mindset perspectives about viewing challenges in a different way? And also how you can use all these concepts in your key relationships, whether that's at work, with your friendships, with your family, or your personal relationships, spousal relationships. And then finally, we'll have a Q&A session. So to get you involved, I want to ask you this question. If you had two wishes in life for how to live your life, which would you choose? So if you've never seen this before, or never thought about it like this before, to always be right or to be happy, which would you prefer? Do you always want to be right, always have the last word? I know what I'm talking about, me, or to be happy. So that's you're happy, you're content, you're less argumentative, you're more accepting, you're more aware, you're more compassionate, you have more common sense, you're more logical, you're more practical. Those are the, which one would you choose? Let me put my glasses on. Can it be both? Well, it can be both, but I'm asking in this instance for a specific, because sometimes you have to be not attached to being right. And as I go through, I'll explain. So what I mean by this is when you have let's use, I'm going to use it, I talk about my husband, my partner. We both are quite opinionated. We can be very stubborn, and we are usually both have a very good opinion or a very good process at arriving at things. And we used to get into this kind of knocking heads. We both wanted to be right. We both wanted to be right. And we'd get annoyed with each other because we wanted to be correct. We wanted to be the right one. And that was all about the ego. So what happens there is you lose your contentment. You lose your sense of, let's just be calm. Does it matter? Is it really that important? Because you're so fixated on being right. So Teresa, in answering your question, can it be both? This is where I'm going with this. Sure, it can be both. You can live your life how you choose it to be. But this is where I'm coming from. So to be happy, I prefer to be happy. So I started letting go of the need to be right. And so did my partner. He started letting go of that. And now we actually find it quite funny. We laugh more than we argue because we don't have the attachment to being the right one. Obviously, there are situations where you might be in danger and the response you choose is important. So you want to be right or correct, or you have the best thoughts or opinions. But sometimes it's not really, in the majority of time, it's just not needed. So you can choose, again, it's up to you. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm giving you some thoughts on mindset truths and simple steps for change. If you are living in a contentious relationship, contentious environment, then ask yourself, is it because you're so desperate to be right all the time that you are constantly having arguments and in conflict? So that's that's the direction I'm going in. So thank you for responding. Appreciate that. So think about a current problem that you have. If you've got a current problem or a challenge or an issue, when it comes to your thoughts, what responsibility do you take in your thoughts? Because, I mean, this is perhaps going into a deeper level, but quite often, again, we look at the external solution. We don't think about what role our thoughts play or our actions. Are we aggravating the situation? Our behaviors, are we blowing this up even more than it needs to be? Again, you could use this in different perspectives. So it could be a work situation, it could be a relationship, spousal relationship situation. It could be I don't have enough money. Could you change some of the way you spend your money at the moment? Yes, we have a cost of living crisis, but is there anything that you could perhaps remove from your weekly, daily budget? Can you take away? Is there anything you could do without? So I'm talking about changing your thoughts and therefore allowing them to filter into your actions and behaviors, moving you away from your current problem or challenge. So I'm being very generic here. So I want you to personalize a current challenge or issue that you have, that you are perhaps looking for an external solution, when if you changed how you thought about it, you would be able to actually come up with a new solution, one that does not involve being stressed or worried. So think about your current problem, a current problem that you have, or something that you want to improve maybe. Is there any room for you to change the way you think? Is there any room for you to change the actions that you normally do? Is there any room for you to change the way you behave in the situation or what you're doing, to help you to move away from the impact of the stress and the strain of that problem or that issue? Have a little think about that and let me know if you come up with anything. Quite often when we have a problem or a challenge, we just recycle the same thing, the same thoughts consistently, constantly. I don't know how to is a good one, is one that people use. They all keep saying, I don't know how to do that, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to find a way to do that. I'm going to ask someone how to do that. I can't sleep. And you just keep saying, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. I've tried everything. I can't sleep. surely there's something else you can try. Have you spoken to another specialist? Have you spoken to someone else that couldn't sleep? Have you tried something else? Have you tried moving your bed? Have you tried dark blackout curtains, white noise, those types of things? So rather than recycling the problem, thinking I don't have a solution, can you start looking differently on that particular problem? Just having a look at the chat box. Yeah, I'm big on meditation. Not everyone's big on meditation, but sometimes when we're so fixated on the problem, we only see the problem and we recycle the thoughts that bring you to that problem. So it's estimated that we have somewhere, I think I've seen this number change over the years. It used to be, they used to say 60 to 70,000 thoughts, but we have somewhere between 6 to 100,000 thoughts per day, depending on how rapidly your mind and thoughts go. And most of the time, they're very same. They're either the same or they're very similar. Generally, they can be very unhelpful. They're so personal because obviously they're coming from your mind. We believe them. And rarely do we stop and think, how can I change what I'm thinking right now? It's not taking me to where I want to be. It's not taking me to where I want to get to. It's not taking me to a solution. So we just recycle these pattern of thoughts, same repeatedly. Rarely do we take the time to stop and look at our responsibility, because sometimes we don't know how to, but we can do this with certain practices and behaviors in becoming aware of your thoughts and the way they integrate into your life. So for that, you need self-awareness. And for that, you need honesty. Self-awareness is, there's no point in being self-aware and not honest. So that means you have to look at your behaviors, look at your thought patterns, look at your actions. What is the role that you play in some of the things that you have in your life that you don't enjoy, that you don't like to see, that you're not, they're not bringing you to where you want to get to? Again, I need you to personalize this for you. I can't solve your problem here and now, but I can at least get you starting to think differently about your particular issue or challenge, if you have one. Maybe you're happy in life and everything's hunky-dory, which is, sorry, hunky-dory in English is, hunky-dory means great. So if things are great for you and that you don't want to change anything, that's absolutely wonderful. But usually I find there's often something we can change to improve our lifestyles, improve our life, improve the way we live, improve our jobs, improve our relationships, improve our health, improve our social time, our environment. There's usually something we can do or something we can improve. So what role do you play? What's the part that you play in continuing your cycle of difficulties or challenges? If you're honest with yourself, so I want you to sit here and think about that problem that you had earlier, if you had one, if you thought of one. Think about that problem. Now, if you're honest, is there something that you're doing that you could do differently? Or are you saying, oh no, it's the other person, or it's the other thing, it's external from me, it's nothing to do with me? Is there something that you could do in your, if you have a challenge or an issue, or is there something you could do slightly differently for a different outcome? So have a little think about that. Hopefully you've got a pen or a notepad or something that you could just make a note or write it down and maybe she's got a point, maybe she hasn't. So self-awareness is important to observing yourself, your thoughts, your behaviors, your conversations. If you're constantly in conflict, if you're constantly feeling a little bit miserable, sad, low, down, what are the thoughts that bring you to that place? What are the thoughts that bring you to sad, miserable, or feeling low or down? What about the conflict? What are the thoughts and the conversations that lead you there? Is there anything that you can do? Is there anything you could do to change your mindset, your perspective, your behavior? And this could be a whole project for you, a life project, to change your lifestyle and your attitude to the way you operate. It could be a big project, I might be giving you a really big project here. How do people react to you? Are people scared of you? Are they, do they leave the room when you come in? Are they warm? Do they enjoy being your company, or do they avoid you? Are you even aware how people react to you? So these are the things to start looking at, especially when it comes to your, as I said, your challenges, your work, your environment, your relationships, and your health as well. Self-awareness. That's got nothing to do with people reacting to you, but it could be that you are, when it comes to your health, it could be that you're so stressed that you're taking it out on other people. So have a think about that. How are you generally? Do you have a lot of arguments? Do you have a lot of conflict? Do you dislike people a lot and you think it's them when really it's you? Tough questions, but quite important for changing lifestyle, thinking, awareness. So here's where I ask you to take responsibility and ownership. Just have a little look here. How can you look differently at the problem? So you maybe at the end, you can share a particular problem that you have, how you can look differently at problems. It's actually to ask yourself some key questions. What can I do differently in this situation? Sit still for long, think about it rather than thinking about the problem. What could I do differently? Could I try this thing? Can I try that? I'm happy to give you some suggestions at the end of how you can look. And sometimes it's just a really simple change of the way you think to look differently at a problem. But it's important for you to take responsibility and ownership. Nobody else can change you. You are the master of your own, you're captain of your own ship, master of your own destiny, of the way you think. This is your engine here, how you think and process information, process your thoughts, process your actions, and therefore your behaviors and your communication. You are responsible. So if you're having the same problem all the time, the constant person is you. You are the constant. You are the person that's always there. In every situation that involves you, it's always going to be you. So you've got to do something differently. So that requires, first of all, I hear a lot this, oh, he made me do, she made me do. Nobody can make you do anything unless they're holding, sorry, bad joke, a gun to your head. Nobody can make you do anything unless you are physically being threatened. Nobody can make you do anything. So if you choose to be unhappy or choose to be sad or choose to be argumentative, if you say your partner's pushing your buttons, it's you that's allowing your buttons to be pushed because you haven't got that sense of structure and control over the way you think. But this can be anything. This could be a work situation. I'm not getting promoted. You know, why aren't you getting promoted? Does your boss know what work you're doing? Are you making them, he or she, aware of the work you're doing? Maybe you don't deserve a promotion. Perhaps you think you do, but really you don't. Perhaps there's a miscommunication in what your manager expects of you and what you expect from your company. So there's usually an answer that we don't see. But first of all, we've got to take responsibility and ownership for our part in the challenge, or our part in making ourselves improve or happy. And quite often we have internal barriers. Our internal barriers are things that we can't see because we're not looking closely enough, because we're still, again, looking outside of ourselves for the answer to our solution, answer to our problem, rather than looking inside. A lot of the clients I work with, as I said, mainly women, And we as women, and men do this too, but generally, obviously I know more about women because that I am one, and that's who I work with. We often have these internal barriers that we created back in our youth, in our childhood, in our teenage years, in a previous job. We have these internal blockers and barriers, and they're usually based on a type of fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of not being worthy, fear of not being intelligent enough, not being confident enough. But quite often when it comes to improving our lives or our lifestyle, there is an internal barrier that we have that we can't see what our responsibility is, or we don't acknowledge it. And that's quite important for you to look inside, again, to take that responsibility and that ownership of what can I do differently? What is my responsibility in this situation to make change? What is my responsibility in my own life to make a change? What is it that I want that I need to change internally? They're really good questions to start taking the layer, because we create these layers over time. We're all quite complex, but often there will be something you've created here in your mind as an obstacle, an internal barrier, an internal obstacle that's not taking you in the direction that you want to do. So changing your mindset and your perspective will be really quite powerful. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, sometimes you do things because you think that the other person is going to love you more or like you more or care about you more. And that speaks more about your self-worth than it does about the other person. So that's quite important as well. Again, these are internal barriers, internal zones, memes that we create ourselves, which aren't true, but we believe them because we've been living with them for so long. And yeah, we develop these mind programs. And these mind programs are based on our memories, what we recall from a previous time, our experiences create our memories, childhood. So looking at feeling loved or feeling worthy, quite often in a childhood situation, you know, maybe you had a big family, perhaps your parents paid more attention to one or a few of the other children and you felt left out. So then you've created this thing in your mind that you are not worthy to be loved. And quite often, again, when I am looking at some of the internal barriers and blockers for people, and I start asking a few questions about beliefs that have been created or early childhood, teenage, there will be a story. There's always a story. Something happened. And from there, the person has created this blocker, this thing, and this belief that they aren't good enough. Or if I do this, that person will love me more. If I do this, that person will like me more. So they have this this need to be loved or liked or elevated. So quite often it's usually something that's happened in previous years. So we have these mind programs that we create. So, and it could be about your environment. Your environment creates a mind program. So a mind program is a belief. So if you live in an environment that's particularly messy, you know, or it has lots of stuff, you have a lot of clutter, you're holding on to it, you think you might need it because maybe there was this one time when someone asked you for something and you threw it out, you had thrown it out. And now, because of that thing, you now keep everything. But, you know, we create these mind programs. We do them, and sometimes we create them and we don't even realize. So I'm just asking you, if you are in a difficult situation, a challenging situation, is there something that you've created, a belief that you experienced something in the past that's allowing you to create the difficult situation you are in? So the belief systems that you've created as well. I'm trying to think of one that I've just recently come across. I know I've had someone who I was working with, and he didn't like presenting. He didn't believe he was intelligent enough to present to a room full of his peers and leadership and managers, because earlier on in his life, his dad used to say, oh, you're absolutely useless. His dad used to regularly say that you're absolutely useless. You're not going to amount to anything. And so in his mind, he'd created this belief that he wasn't good enough. He's not going to amount to anything. So every time he stood up in front of an audience to present, he would get a bit tongue-tied. His face would go really red and he would be embarrassed. He would deliver it, but this was his internalizing going on. So what I had to do with him, I had to go back to this childhood memory of his father and reinstall or reframe the belief system that he, reinstall his belief system that he was good enough. He had studied, he'd got a degree, he was doing a master's, so he was good enough, but he just had a belief system that he wasn't. And he got used to get feedback from his managers that he was a remarkable and wonderful presenter, but he didn't believe that to himself because he was so fueled with this, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to amount to anything, I'm not intelligent enough. So that's just a story about different beliefs and mind programs that people create. They can change over time if you work at them, or sometimes they just disappear. That can happen. And your mind programs, they can be helpful or they can be hindering. If you truly believe that you are a magnificent and great person, you can do anything, you're resourceful, your mind programs are helping you, but they can also block you. I'm not going to go for that promotion because I don't think I'm good enough. I'm not going to, I'm never going to get married is another one I've heard, because I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy to be loved. So I've heard these stories in different guises over the years, but they can definitely be helpful or hindering. So again, I ask you to look at your own mind programs, whatever's stopping you in life, to see what you can start doing. What could you change? It could be a slight tweak in how you behave and how you think. And as I said, you are the one constant. If you're having the same problem or the same challenge or the same difficulty, same conflicts, just the same difficulties, I've said, the same cycle pattern, you are the constant. You are the only person that's always there by your sides. So it's up to you to find what you can do to change, to tweak, to be different, or to think differently. Now, again, I'm delivering this session. People, sometimes I get feedback, oh, it didn't solve my problem. I can't solve your problem because I don't know how you overlay your problems, but you can at least start thinking from here, what can I do differently? What can I change? What can I do regularly to start changing or being aware of what I can change? So yeah, you are the constant. It's got to be internal. So your change has got to come from you. So yeah, again, we repeat the same cycles. We do the same thing. And these things, so if you are unhappy or you are not enjoying a particular area of your life, or you think it needs improving, are you just doing the same thing every day? You're waking up, not breaking your cycle, doing exactly the same thing. Nutrition is another one. I want to lose weight. You wake up and you eat cake. You wake up, you eat cake. You wake up, you don't walk. You wake up, you don't exercise. But suddenly in your mind, you think, oh, I'll lose weight. But you're doing this, sorry, I'll get healthier. Let's say not lose weight. I'll get healthier. But you're doing the same thing. You're on a repeat cycle. You're not going to get anything different. Something has to change, even if it's, I'm going to cut down my sugar for a month, and then I'm going to try and go for half the sugar for a month, another month. You've got to do something slightly differently to get different results. And quite often we repeat the cycle and we get stressed, we become unhappy, and it plays out in different ways in our lives. Miscommunication, conflict, difficulties at work, blaming my boss or blaming my colleague. She's not doing it right, they're not doing it right, when in fact we could be contributing to the solution when it comes to the self-awareness. Again, I invite you to look at what you can change rather than what's external to you. And be aware, because all these things also, aware of what you consume, because all of these things contribute to the problems you have, to the repeat problems that you have. If you're looking at the same content, so you're looking at the same, unhelpful, negative, fearful content, news, you're thinking the same thing, you're talking to the same people who are negative, or they always have a problem, they always want to create a problem. Who's in your environment? Think about your self-talk. That's a big one. What are the types of things you say to yourself? What are the words you use for yourself and externally to others? So again, this is about the self-awareness. Be aware of what you consume on a daily basis. I'd love to hear what you generally consume, and if you've figured out, oh, I could actually change something, I'd love to hear that at the end in the Q&A when we're all talking. So part of the change, a part of the process is look at how much time daily do you spend in this instance is invest. How much time do you invest in or time and energy do you invest in difficult situations? The content that you read that's not helpful. How much time do you invest in helpful and unhelpful content? What about your energy? Where do you spend your energy? Is it being talking about how bad the world is, or what you can do to change the world? What about the conversations you have? What about the thoughts and the news? What about the money you invest? Where do you invest your money? Do you invest it on yourself in improvement, or do you invest it in chocolate bars, or 20,000 subscriptions to different digital streaming platforms? I don't know. Where do you invest your time? Where do you invest your money? Where do you invest your energy, your conversations, your thoughts? How much time do you spend daily? Have a little review. Do a little time blocker. I've just spent half an hour doing X. What did it bring me? Did it make me happy? Did it bring me joy? Was it great to improve my life? So start thinking about the time and identifying where you spend your time and what you can start doing differently. And monitor your self-talk. Really powerful. I usually have a grid with, not usually, I've shared it before. I'm not good at, I can't, I'm not that intelligent, I won't even try. You hear it all the time once you start becoming aware of it. So how much time do you invest in your self-talk? Negative self-talk, unhelpful self-talk. So how can you change that perspective? How can you change that power that self-talk has over you and your future and what you want? Yeah, skipping. Yeah, I do. I leave a room. If I'm in a room and people are gossiping and being nasty about other people, it's taken me a long time to be able to do this. I leave a room if I'm around people that are, tearing other people down. I don't know, I'm allergic to it now. I don't like being around it. I shudder. But 10 years ago, I would have been there. I would have been the first, like, oh, did you see that? And did you hear about this? And did you do that? And now I don't think it's kind. I don't think it's helpful. And that to me also is my mission and my vision is I'm just one person, but what can I do to contribute to making the world a bit more kind, healthy, less aggravated, and a bit more decent. So yeah, so I do that in my affirmations, my meditations, and my actions. I'm not perfect. I don't always get it right, but I do try. So as I draw a close to this session, I ask you to consider what's my first step. Perhaps I've highlighted something today that you think, oh, I could change this, or I could change that. Or maybe I've highlighted to you that, yeah, I'm doing all right, actually. I don't need to make any changes. But if you do want to make some changes to improve your lifestyle, Simple Steps for Change, Mindset Truths, Simple Steps for Change is the title of this. So it's supposed to help you identify what you can do differently to make that change or make that improvement in the area that you want in your life. So what's my first step? Ask yourself this question, and how do I make it a routine? So put it in your diary. Do you need to put it in your diary daily? Half an hour? I'm going to look at what I've done today, look at how I spoke to myself, and look how I spoke to other people. What conversations did I have? Where did I invest my money? Did I invest my time? Where did I invest my energy? So that sort of thing. But I guide you to do one thing at a time. Don't do lots of things. Just change one thing at a time. So for change to happen, it does require some commitment from you. So you've got to lock it in. Perspectives and action. How can I change my perspective, and what action can I take? And it's how you become great at doing something is to practice. You don't give up at the first hurdle. Don't give up at the first difficulty, but see how you get on. Test it. And if it doesn't go quite the way you want it, what can I do differently? And then restart. Just go again. Most of the time we give up when we try something once and it doesn't really work out. So try. If it doesn't work out, just restart, go again. Don't give up. And even if it takes you, 1, 2, 3, 4 years to commit to that change, at least you're on your journey. You're trying to do something. I'm happy to answer any questions as well. If you've got something that you have that's really personal, and obviously this is a big group and you don't want to share it here, happy for you to send me an email and I'll answer it for you, or we can have a conversation. I normally put my phone number up there, but I get prank calls, so I've decided not to. You can't call me anymore. I've given it up. I've taken it away. Send me an email if you're really nice to me. I'll share my phone number with you. So that's me. Get in touch. Love to see you, or connect with me here on Intonations. Wonderful. So I'm going to stop the recording, and I invite you to share any of your questions, and and I will make this available, the recording available after the session.